Thank you for letting me share this video with you today. My name is Dave Limmer. My wife and I have pastored a church in Casper, Wyoming for the last 40 years, and we've been pastoring for 43 years, almost 44 now. And we have 3 sons, all married, and 9 grandchildren. We are excited about that. And we have kind of have our roots in Wyoming. My great-great-grandparents homesteaded here, as did my grandparents. And we have up around the area of KC, Wyoming. I grew up in Buffalo, was raised there, and went to high school through Buffalo. But I want to just share with you a vision that the Lord has given me over the last few years, as I've pastored even, of just beginning to see communities come together in a time of prayer, basically calling it 307 Prayer, Wyoming Focused. And that is really an opportunity to just bring together a community into a time of praying together, whether it's evenings or maybe on a Sunday afternoon. Some have done it even on a Saturday morning. And so we are just attempting to connect with pastors and leaders in every town in the state of Wyoming. There's 100 towns here in Wyoming that we would like to have prayer going at least once a quarter. And this is not another thing to add on to what pastors are already doing. We're not trying to give pastors more work to do. All we're trying to do is just get the pastors together in a community that are willing to invite their congregants into a time of gathering together in one location and praying together for their city, for their town, and for the state of Wyoming. And so we're excited about the potential of that. We've already started this past year. We've been doing that in several towns across the state and seen God do amazing things. And real quickly, just a format would be very, very simple. It's already laid out. We would have worksheets that each town can work off of so that there's not extra work for pastors or whoever's leading it. We would just need a host site, whether it be a church building or another location. Some have done it in a senior citizens building. Some have done it at different places, community buildings. But it would be a gathering together of different churches coming together in one place to spend some time, about an hour, hour and a half, in prayer together. And basically, a real quick rundown of what that would look like would be they would welcome everyone there. The host pastor would, or a host leader. And then they would give an opportunity for the group. They would start with some worship. You would have someone that would lead worship, whether it be a team that is mixed from the community or a team from a different church each time, or an individual just leading acoustically. We've done it all different ways. And so they would come together and they would basically begin with worship for a couple of songs, and then they would introduce the prayer night. And that would basically look like we would gather together with 3 to 5 people in a group. We would put everybody in a group together, and we would diversify that a little bit. We would encourage them that everyone in the group would pray, and that's according to Matthew chapter 18, verse 19. It says that wherever 2 of us agree together as touching anything on earth, our Father in prayer will give answer to that. And so that's really kind of the crux of what we are wanting to see happen, is that there would be that gathering together, praying together, so that there's agreement together. And so we would encourage everyone in that group of 3 to 5 to pray together so that they can agree together. If they're not comfortable praying out loud, that's not a big deal. We would encourage also that no one would dominate the prayer time. And some people have never prayed out loud. Others pray out loud all the time, especially pastors. And so some could dominate the time, but we're going to encourage that everyone have a chance to pray, a couple of minutes, and then it moved to the next person and then the next person. And that each time then we would come out of that prayer time, with worship. And so they would have a song in between that. And so we would begin with a model that Jesus gave us in Matthew there concerning the Lord's Prayer, what we would call the Lord's Prayer. And so we would go through those demarcations. Our Father who art in heaven, your name is holy. That would be the first one. And we would have everyone pray together. It would be introduced by one of the leaders in that town. And in the introduction would be very simple, a couple minutes, 2-3 minutes, to just introduce. We're going to pray concerning this area for our town or our city. And then we would come out of that prayer time with a song. They would lead us in worship so that those that are still praying in their group would be able to finish up as they hear the music. They would finish up. And then others that are already done, they would just be able to step in to worship. And we'd have that song. And then the next leader would introduce the next area of prayer. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And so then what is it that this community needs that we want to focus on? Is it in the area of our businesses and economics? Is it our school and our children? Is it families? Is it the church? Whatever area that we want to focus on as far as the influence in this community would be kind of the theme for that night. And so everything down through the Lord's Prayer would focus on that. And we would come out of that session, again, they'd have about 10 minutes, 12 minutes to pray together in their small group. And then we would come out of that session with another song. And then you'd move into give us this day our daily bread. And we would talk about the aspect of God's provision and every aspect of that. And so those are kind of just an overview of what an evening or a day of prayer would be like. And we'd go all the way to the end. And then they would have a couple of songs to worship with. And then finally, then someone would close. One of the pastors would close in prayer. But I would just mention that even the pastors, they would introduce the area, but then they would join a prayer group and they would pray in the group. There would be no prayer from the front per se, just an introduction of what we're praying for. So in that, I just want to encourage you, if you know leaders in a town that maybe we have not got to yet as far as with 307 prayer, it would be great if you could connect us up. And so we want to just give you a phone number. It would be 307-267-1705. And so you could call that anytime. And we will be setting up a Facebook page as well as a web page where you can connect up and see where the prayer times are happening, what towns are having their prayer times, and when they are having those. That'll all be there and scheduled. And so I just want to encourage you to take note of what God has said in Psalm 133. In fact, I'll just share it with you in closing here. It says that how good and pleasant it is when brothers dwell together in unity. It is like the precious oil on the head running down on the beard of Aaron. And it goes on there and it says it's like the dew of Mount Hermon, and it falls on the mountains of Zion. And then it makes this statement. He says, for there God commands a blessing. There God commands a blessing, life forevermore. And so really we are just agreeing together. We're the brethren in a community coming together, praying together for our community, for our state, and believing God that He is going to release blessing and favor in our town, in every local town, whether it's 15 people, 50 people, 5,000, or 50,000. Doesn't matter. We believe that God wants to release His blessing over the state of Wyoming in greater measure than we've ever seen it before. So I invite you on the journey of 307 prayer, focused on Wyoming. Thank you.